At the Top isn't a place, a title, or an accomplishment. It's a mindset, lifestyle, a standard that every day of your life is a new opportunity to be the best version of yourself. We're here with our guests and friends to share the stories and lessons we've learned to help you, our At the Top community, stay inspired and motivated to live at the top in your own lives. Thanks again, you guys, for joining us today at the Top podcast with me, Alan Lazard, and Ryan Lillard here. Today, we're very welcoming to our guest, Christain Yelich, outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers. So, Christain, how you been doing? Thank you for joining again. And what's new with you?
All good, guys. Thanks for having me. Just doing the spring training routine. Stuff feels a little bit more normal this year than it did this time last year. I think this time last year, we were already home. Right. COVID was already setting in, and we were expecting it to be a few weeks, and here we are a year later, right. Kind of still dealing with some of the same stuff, but
crazy.
Hopefully got that light at the end of the tunnel though.
Right. I feel that. So kind of just to dive into things kind of quicker, more so. For me, a personal question I want to ask you is just, what is your biggest accomplishment that you've ever achieved, for you personally? For me, obviously making it to the NFL, playing for the Packers is something that I'm very proud of, as long as a lot of other things that I've done in my life. But my one biggest accomplishment is my first career game, my first career play, my first career catch all happened at the same time. So to put myself in that position, I had to battle on the practice squad throughout the entire year. Didn't know if I was going to make the active roster. And I finally got put in that position. So just to be able to get there and to do that, for me, that's the one specific thing, because I know how much hard work and time I put in and how long it took me to achieve that. So for me, asking you, what is something like your biggest accomplishment that you've had?
Yeah, it's fairly similar. I think you can relate as athletes, like how much work and dedication and sacrifice, goes into that moment to either when you make your debut in the NFL or debut in the MLB. A lot of other people put work into that besides yourself, so it's like everybody, it's a special moment for everyone in your life that's ever had a hand or was able to guide you in some way since you were a kid and forming you on your football or baseball journey. And so I mean, that's pretty much, for me, my most vivid memory of that is like walking into the locker room for the first time, and you see like everybody's jersey hanging in a major league clubhouse, and like you have one too, and you're kind of like, oh shit, like here we go, like we're about to get it on.
It's definitely a surreal moment.
Yeah, like it's pretty real, and I remember that day so vividly, and I remember like so much adrenaline and excitement and just being fired up the whole time, and then the game happens and the game feels like it goes by in 20 minutes, and then I remember that's probably like one of the most tired I've ever been in my entire life was when that day was over. Like the adrenaline dumps over, and you're just like exhausted. Because for myself, we got like called up a couple of nights the night before. So we wake up at like 5 a.m., get on a flight, and we were playing in Colorado at the time. So we had to fly to Denver and do that whole thing from Tennessee. I think me and one of my buddies got called the same day. So that was like my first huge special memory. Just big accomplishment from this goal that you had when I was, 6, 7 years old.
Right. And I think from like an outsider's perspective, like from a fan's perspective, you could say like, oh, Alan Lazard's biggest accomplishment is probably like making it to the NFC Championship or, being the all-time leading receiver at Iowa State, winning the MVP. But it's really like, it kind of speaks as the process that athletes have to go through their entire lives. Like you spoke on the support system that you have, where it's really like, it's a victory for everyone that was involved in your process. And so for him, it was his first catch. For you, it was walking into the locker room for the first time. It's really like the simple things I feel like that you have to appreciate the most.
But yeah, which is with ATT and just kind of what he's talking about, it just, it's the mindset, it's the lifestyle, it's, just having that standard expectation for yourself. Like you said, since you were 6, 7 years old, you envisioned yourself playing in the major leagues in front of 40,000 plus people, going up there to go put on your jersey and to at bat and make big plays. But, it shows them just how much work and time and effort it takes just to get to that moment. That took a solid 17 years. It's not just, just because you got drafted, straight out of high school, it was just easy from there on out. It's a long process. And so I guess my question is, what does at the top mean to you as far as like a mindset and how you carry yourself every single day? Because being a pro athlete, especially being an MVP, that you can't just turn it off and turn it on. It's an everyday thing, and you gotta let that mindset kind of carry throughout your life, not just within baseball or your sports or athletics or, whatever your main focus is, but you have to carry that with other relationships, just as far as just doing little things, morning routines, at night, taking care of your body. It's everything. So, what does at the top mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, just that it's more of just like a way of life, like if you really want to have longevity in your career, you want to play at a really high level for a long time and be able to stick in the league. You have to make conscious decisions every day that are geared towards that. It's not just show up at game time and like roll the ball out and see what happens. That's not going to work. Or everything you do in your life and away from the field, at the field, on the field, off season, sleeping, diet, like people that you interact with, like everything is kind of geared around that. And you realize that, I think, the more that you're around the game and the more that you play and the more that you see it and the more things you experience, and you see the guys that stick around for a really long time, you see the guys that are super talented but wash out after a few years or just can't hack it.
Right.
I think if you go into those situations with your eyes open as a young player and you're looking around and you're really paying attention and realize what it takes to succeed at those highest levels, that's what it demands. It demands so much. The game demands so much from you that you have to meet it at that level or it's going to pass you by. People are coming for you every single day. There's kids that are out there working their asses off to take your job or to play against you or to, lock you down or whatever it may be, like it's something that you always just have to have that drive and that hunger and that edge to you. Or you're just not gonna be able to do it at a very high level for a long time.
Right. So in 2018, like with your MVP year, you come back in 2019 with arguably, a better year until you were sidelined with the last month of that knee injury you had. Mm-hmm. Then obviously you probably had to rehab the entire offseason, come into 2020 with, crazy circumstances with COVID and whatnot. Shortened season, 60 games. It kind of seemed like you never really had the opportunity to get your feet underneath you or really work your way out of the slump. What has been the past 18 months been like for you, with your mindset, and kind of how are you taking that into the 2021 season?
Yeah. So I fractured my kneecap in September of 2019, right around mid-September sometime. So yeah, that sucked. And I had to go through the whole, I don't recommend doing that one. That one's not a fun one, but
freak accident too. It was crazy.
Yeah. Just a foul tip and just ended up cracking my kneecap and, a little bit of a freak deal there and is what it is, but it ended up being a pretty lengthy rehab process. And, it was just a shitty experience. And one of those things where, you learned a lot about yourself, you learn how to deal with that adversity or how this seems just unfair at times, and you can't let yourself dwell on that. You can feel that way for a day or two, and then it has to be geared towards I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to do everything in my power to get healthy and get back on the field. And you can gear your mind more around positive thoughts like that. And that's kind of what I learned through that rehab process. And then we go to spring training. We're in spring training for a few weeks. COVID happens, and everybody kind of knows how that went. And we were just hanging out and kind of waiting to see if we were going to even play at all. For a few months, it didn't even seem like that was going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen with sports in general now. Ended up going back out there, and July. I think it was like July 1st or 2nd, something like that. And, had our 3-week little ramp up summer camp thing, and then played the season with no fans, which I'm sure you can relate to. It's just such a weird, eerie feeling, like to be in those stadiums and just playing in front of nobody when you used to just being this crazy atmosphere and so loud and people into it. And, Wisconsin sports fans are so passionate, and this is a great place to play. And then you just have like this piped in crowd noise. You're like, what is going on here? And that took a little while to get used to. And my season didn't go how I wanted it to, obviously, and short samples. So if you get off to a bad start, it's kind of, you're really behind the 8 ball there. You don't have the time you usually would to dig yourself out of it. That's kind of how it went. But I think we were fortunate to play. And when I look back on the season, I'm like, it took a lot of sacrifice from a lot of people to make that happen. Like, just to even play the season was a huge accomplishment. And, didn't go my way, but hey, that's how sports go sometimes. And, I had to be back. Did
you feel like any like higher sense of urgency to like get going last year? Like knowing you only had 60 games, it was probably like 500 less at bats. I'm sure that you probably got.
Yeah, it's probably about 400 less. Not a sense of urgency really, because baseball is just not a game that's played as a sprint. Like, you can't look at it that way, or it's never gonna go well for you. But you always kind of knew, like, hey, like whoever gets out the gates hot here is going to be the ones that do really well this year. Like, the team wise and individual wise, was like, if you can get off to a really good start, like, that's the way to do it in the season, because you don't have the 100 extra games to let things even out or get to where you usually are. So from that aspect, it was unique, and definitely one of a kind season.
So I feel like kind of from like the outside looking in, just like how you carry yourself off the field, you seem like a really like laid back, easygoing guy. But like when someone watches you play, like you definitely see like you're a fierce competitor. You play with a lot of passion, you play with a lot of intensity. And he's kind of the same way too off the field. He's super easygoing, but he says he has like a flip that he switches, and he can flip it anytime he wants. Do you feel like you have the same type of thing? I mean, is there something like that goes on in your head before you step on the field?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think many people know about it. Like you said, there's like maybe my teammates, and only probably a few of them even really know about it, and a few of the coaches. But there's definitely, I think, to be successful at that level, you have to have that fire inside of you. You can't just like roll out there and be like, oh, like, I hope we all have fun today, and like, whatever happens, happens. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
That's not how pro sports work. I feel like most guys who are out there on that field have that switch, or there's something inside of them. At least the guys who are successful have that internal drive and internal fire. And I'm no different when it comes to that. You draw motivation from different places every year, every month. Like, you find it in different areas, whether it's criticism, whether it's to prove people wrong, whatever it may be, and I kind of use that stuff to drive me.
All right. You kind of talked about earlier, the fan base in Milwaukee, or just Wisconsin in general. Obviously I play in Green Bay, you play in Milwaukee, so you somewhat share the same fans. But one thing that I've noticed coming there, I'm from Iowa, so I kind of have peeped Wisconsin growing up and everything, and knowing how the community is there and their fan base. But one thing I think that's so special about Wisconsin is that the fan support is unanimous, like all throughout the entire state, whether it's the football, for the Packers, you guys, the Bucks, the Badgers, obviously is a whole nother story as well. But I think that's so important, kind of going back to on how you said not playing games with fans. As athletes, for me, you feed off the energy, you feed off the crowd noise. You going out there for warm-ups and there being 20,000 people out there. You're playing catch with little kids. You see, numerous people wearing your jersey. Just those little small things, help you get into that game-like mode, help you, flip that switch. But having those fans, they're an ultimate support, and they're so important to the game as well as a support system. I kind of can include them in part and conclusive of my support system as well, with my small circle and everything. And I think it's so important that within your small circle and your support system that you have the right people. You don't have anyone that's negative, someone that believes in you and that's on the same path and same goals as you. Who in your like support system helps motivate you, helps keep you going every single day, and knows, even when you're down in your downs, for him, for example, for Ryan, like Ryan knows when I'm in a grumpy mood or something like that, and how to take it plenty of times. But he just knows how to manage me and how to motivate me, but also how to push my buttons as well. He does a great job of that. So who in your corner, do you look forward to or lean on in times of need and for motivation as well?
I've had the same like core group of friends since first grade. Like there's 3 or 4 of us that have been pretty good buddies since literally first grade. And I think that's really valuable, especially when you're kind of in our position and you have smaller circles and fewer people that you really trust for advice or lean on or know their intentions are pure and just that know you, like they actually know you and what you're about and what makes you tick. And I think that helps me a ton to stay just focused and grounded and in that aspect of my life. But they don't really get to see me much in baseball. In the baseball life, there's a couple guys on the team to where like they know you better. You got good, you're closer to some guys on the team than others. Not that you're not close with everybody, but you just have those few guys that motivate you, or you can bounce stuff off of during a season or a game or whatnot. And I have mine. One of our hitting coaches actually he was my coach in A-ball when I was 18.
Wow.
So we've known each other for 10 years. Wow. And we were with the Marlins together for a few years, kind of went our separate ways. He ended up in the Cubs organization for a while and then became our hitting coach in 2019. So this is our 3rd year again together in the big leagues. And, he's seen me since I was literally a kid. I was a teenager. My first experiences in pro ball were with him. I've seen him as a low A minor league manager, and now we're together in the big league. So we have a unique relationship and can talk to each other in a way that you really don't get to talk to just coaches and stuff, or it's a different level of a relationship. Just the trust factor's there. Then he knows me so well. I know him so well, and it's been that way for a really long time. And I just think that's just so valuable for myself. And, I'm just very grateful for it.
One really big thing about like at the top and what Alan and I are doing with this is like, we really want to be involved in our community. So we're both from the same hometown. And I see you, Ryan Braun, Jared Goff, Mike Moustakis, and Mike Atanasio.
Atanasio.
Yeah, I just had a little trouble pronouncing that. Atanasio.
Yeah.
But after the California wildfires in 2019, you guys started the California Strong Foundation. Mm-hmm. And I think like the last time I checked, you guys have raised over $2.5 million, helped out thousands of families in need. How does it feel to have that type of impact in your community? And like, what are you guys' next plans with California Strong?
It really makes you realize like the impact you can have and the reach you have. Like, I think we forget that sometimes as athletes, especially if you just see yourself as like a regular person and you forget like the impact that you can have, and
literally.
So for us, we all kind of started that on a group text, all that stuff was happening. And we're like, man, like this is so sad. Like this sucks that, people are losing their homes and everything's just getting destroyed by these fires. And it's devastating. Like I wish we could help out. That's kind of how it started on a group text. And we just wanted to try and raise money. Like we didn't know we were going to start a foundation. We thought originally it was just going to be like a one-off fundraising campaign. We were going to give the money somewhere and like that was going to be it. And we kind of realized as the process grew, it doesn't really work like that. Like, especially when you start raising those, you start raising like that kind of money, like there's an accounting factor that goes into it. You have to start making sure like everything is on the up and up with where this is being distributed. You have to have a 501c3. So that's why we partner with the YMCA and they help do all the logistical stuff for us and really made it all possible. And it was just a wild ride, and it all kind of started coming together, and it started on that group text with this idea to raise money, and it turned into this foundation, which turned into a celebrity softball game, which turned into us being able to give back to thousands of families, which was really cool. And we were able to take it way farther than we even envisioned. You know, we thought we were just trying to raise like $100,000, you know, and we thought that would be really awesome if we could get to that number, you know, and obviously really blew by that and quickly. And just, it's one of those things that you're proud that you have, but you hope you never need to like fire up again, because you hope there's never any disasters.
Exactly.
People that aren't, but it's nice to see what it's become and what it's been able to do for people.
I think it's really cool too that you kind of have that base too, because like I think I saw an interview that you said it's like you want to make it simple for people to help out. And so, you know, whenever that time does come again, like you guys already have all this momentum that you started with California Strong, and people know where to go to help out families in need. And they have familiar faces like you, Jared, Mike, Ryan, all those guys. I mean, I think that's definitely really special what you guys are doing.
Yeah. I mean, because we found that people really want to help in times of need, and it's a natural thing to feel, but you don't necessarily like know where to go. Because like we were the same way. Like we want to help, but like where? And then like we wanted to make sure like what we were raising was actually like going to the people that we actually intended it to go to, you know? And I think when people donate to stuff like that and have the good in their heart to try and make a difference, they want to make sure they're actually making a difference and it's going to where they want to. So that was an important part to us with California Strong, was to like set up this thing where people just felt comfortable and where their stuff was going.
Yeah. And then just from like, you know, the community standpoint, you know, you attaching your name to something like that and those other guys too, you know, it gives that comfort level too, because so many people look up to us in the spotlight that we're given and stuff. So having that comfortability level, okay, knowing I'm giving these people money, you know it's going to go towards a good cause and to help the right people. So I commend you for that and what you're doing and stuff. You're inspiring.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to kind of bring up to you. Have you heard of Hunter Bishop before? Giants prospect Hunter Bishop?
Yeah, I have.
So we were just with him last week in Arizona, and I played with him at Arizona State. Okay. And so he was one of the most talented players I've ever played with, like super, super talented. But he was one of those guys that could never really put it together. And so he, freshman, sophomore year, he's kind of struggling in and out of the lineup, whatnot. But junior year, he comes back. And I was like, notice he had a different swing. I was like, that kind of looks like Christain Yelich. Like, what is he doing there? And then all of a sudden you start seeing Twitter, you start seeing these side-by-side comparisons, and he's literally like in sync with you the entire time. Like the same exact setup, same exact load, everything. And so I asked him last week, I was like, hey, did you do that intentionally? I was like, were you trying to copy him? He's like, oh yeah, I literally just copied everything he did. And then he became a first round pick. And I mean, kind of the rest is history. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah. We actually, we played against him a couple of weeks ago in spring training. He came to play against us, and Pat Murphy is he's pretty tied in with ASU, right? You know, in baseball. And he kind of told me about it and let me know. So I was well aware of, who he is, and wanted to try and say hello and introduce myself for the game. It just didn't really line up. But yeah, it's one of those things that's so weird, man. Like you're honored that someone would do that, and then you look back and you're like, man, like you're already kind of at the point where people are like in college and stuff, like copying how you play, like almost. Right. I don't feel old, but like stuff like that, it's like, damn. Like,
I think of even on the bigger scale, like how many kids in Little League are copying Christain Yelich's swing? I mean, let alone like you got a top draft prospect literally just copying everything he could about your swing. And I think he hit like 25 home runs that year or something crazy, just like blew up.
I saw he crushed it. And I saw him pop up, and I'd see it on Twitter every now and then, like people would tag me in it or whatnot. So I'm definitely aware of who he is, and super happy for the success that he's had, and definitely going to be definitely following his career now, and hopefully get to cross paths in a real major league game here pretty soon.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
That is dope that you're just, like you said, you're playing the game and you're affecting the change of the game and how the game is played as you play. So that's pretty dope just for you personally. But I guess I just want to say thanks again for joining us today on the At the Top podcast. I want to appreciate you, Christain Yelich, Milwaukee Brewer, and hopefully here soon, a world champion. I just want to say best of luck for the rest of the season and the rest of your career. We'll definitely be watching, staying tuned, and can't wait to catch a game in person again.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. And, looking forward to crossing paths here soon, whether it's at, a baseball game or make it up to Lambeau for a pack game, man. So Absolutely. Thanks again for having me. And, see you guys soon.